first off, we've done a tremendous amount of work on this draft, and it really starts with the scouts and their work. We've got 8 college scouts that are led by Kevin Kelly and JoJo Wooden, and these guys are on the road throughout most of the year, spending hours and hours and days traveling, watching film, going to practices, going to games, writing reports, and the report writing takes a huge amount of time. And those guys do a tremendous amount of work for us and done a great job. We also have 3 pro scouts led by Lewis Clark, and our pro scouts do a great job of putting a framework together of the rest of the league, the other 31 teams, as far as what they could do, what their strengths are, what their weaknesses are on the roster, what their draft histories have been, potential trade possibilities. So they do a lot of work there. And we also have 3 scouting assistants, Kevin McGuire and Matt Waugh, and then Tyler Lyon, who's our coordinator. And they keep track of all this data that comes in from the scouts. They kind of work as a liaison between the scouts and us in the front office. Do a lot of work, a lot of cutting up of tapes and putting edits together for us, and then all the dirty work of picking up players at the airport and taking them to a physical and taking them to a meeting. So those 3 guys are the low guys in the totem pole, but they're maybe the 3 most important guys with our draft. We can't run the draft without those 3 guys. They do a tremendous amount of work and get everything organized for us. So I'm really appreciative of those guys. And you also have all the medical and the security work we do with all those groups, and then obviously the coaches that we're working with. And we've got a good amount of new coaches on staff this year, and the synergy between the scouts and the coaches has been great. Really enjoyed working with a lot of them, and I mean, obviously some of them I knew already, but all the new coaches, and their part of this process is important because they help with the how players fit in the scheme and what their exact role would be for us. So you have to take that all together with the scouts and what they see, and we put it all together and get that product at the end. So with that, I'll answer whatever questions you guys have.
Tom, you just kind of touched on that, but if the coaching staff had been the same, is it easier to kind of go through the evaluation and because the schemes and you've gotten your kind of experience with it, and are there new challenges because it's a new staff? Yeah,
there's new challenges. You have to get to know everybody a little bit better. Scouting is a big people business, and communicating back and forth, and obviously anybody who's new is going to take a little bit of time. I wouldn't say it's harder, but it does take some extra time. We're still going through some things this week. What I've seen so far is with the new coaches, they've been good evaluators, number one, but number 2, the most important thing is they can really communicate to us what they're looking for, and that's really important for any scout, any GM, that the coaches know exactly the traits that fit the scheme that they want to run, and be able to explain that really easy to us. So when we're on the road looking for players, we can see right away if we think a guy's going to fit or not, because a lot of the draft is eliminating the players that don't fit for you, either scheme-wise or culture-wise. Trying to narrow down that list. And we start off as probably 3,000 prospects, and the end amount, we're probably looking at under 200 as far as on draft day that we're drafting out of. So a lot of it is eliminating what doesn't fit, and coaches do a great job with that.
Tom, being in a new city, LA, do you think this is the most important draft of your GM career?
Well, for me, every next draft is the most important draft. So that's no matter where we were, this is going to be important for us. We think it's a pretty good draft. It's very deep in a lot of different areas. I like the work we've done. I think we're very well prepared right now to either, in every round, whether it's pick at that pick or maybe move back or possibly move up. But no, we're excited about it.
You mentioned the coaching staff and the scouts. Can you take us inside that room when the coaches are identifying the players they want? How much is it agreement? How much is there back and forth between what the scouts see and the coaches want, and how do you balance that dynamic?
There's always back and forth. I mean, the good thing is when you close the door, you can have some really frank discussions on things, and we're all football people, so sometimes we get a little bit heated when you're talking about football and being competitive. But there's also some professional humility too, being able to work with everybody, and not everybody has the answer all the time. So, but they're really fun discussions. And every time you give a new coaching staff or new coach and some different wrinkles or things they look for, our scouts go on the road and very broad base, scouting every position, every player from top to bottom. As I said before, we'll narrow that down as we get closer, but they're always really good discussions. Scouts have sometimes a little bit broader look on things. Coaches a little bit more narrow as far as who can help them tomorrow. But that's needed in your checks and balances. That's kind of the way we set things up, to have different filters through our whole process, and try and get more right than you get wrong.
And I think I've asked you this before, but on draft day, when there's a position that may be deeper later on in the draft, how do you balance the depth at a position when deciding between maybe 2 or 3 different players at different positions earlier on?
Yeah, that's a good question. That's all part of we call it draft management. Now, obviously, if there was one position that was very strong, maybe say into the 3rd and 4th round, another position that wasn't as strong, but maybe you had 2 players ranked, but this guy was a lot lower, you wouldn't reach down and take a lower player because, hey, look, I know we can get more guys here later. Now, but where it does mean more is if you have equal rankings of 2 players at different positions, then you can start looking at, okay, if we take this player here, who are we set up for down the road? And there's a lot of strategy that goes into it. You're competing with 31 other teams to get the players that you want, and inevitably a lot of the players that we want are players that other teams want too. So there's a little bit of strategy and gamesmanship to it, and you just try and get as many as you can. You don't get everybody you want, but a lot of what we'll do is these are all the discussions we'll have way before the draft. So on draft day, it's relatively quiet. We've already decided, kind of gone through the different scenarios, the different frameworks of what could happen. So draft day is very quiet. Unless somebody goes off right before we picked that I wanted or we wanted, and I take a tennis ball and throw it against the wall. But you snap out of that pretty quick. Hey, it's all part of the process.
There are a number of prospects that are projected early in this draft that have medical concerns. Is it more or less than in years previous? And kind of what's your general philosophy towards players with a little bit of a checkered medical past?
I don't know if it's any more this year. I think it's become more out there than usual. I mean, there's so much more information that's available for everybody. So maybe you guys are seeing more information than usual. I mean, every year we have a lot of players with medical risks that we have to try and manage and see how they fit for us. The medical portion and our work with our doctors is just as important as the work with the scouts. And we'll sit in a room with the doctors almost like it's a scouting meeting, and we'll go through all the players, what they have, what their risks are, what the short-term risk is, what the long-term is, and those are discussions that take a long time. And because if you're not available for us, you can't help us. And but we have to go through and try and make good, educated decisions on the injuries. I mean, these guys, they're playing football at the college level. You're going to have injuries. You're going to have previous surgeries. You have to decide if that's something that could affect them farther down the road.